seems to be the topic of the month is life rafts, and we've had a number of discussions about where we're going to position it. We've got a couple of friends who've got them up on the bow, which is a nice place. Obviously, if you have a fire in the stern of the boat, which is generally the engine room, you're going to go forward. If you've got one in the front of the boat, you go back to your tender. Don't know whether I'd like to be on a tender for any long period of time, but at least if it had a motor and you're close to shore, you got a better chance of survival, I think. I'm actually going to probably put it in the back of the boat here, which is just going to lie underneath the tender and can simply be deployed underneath the tender, but that's going to mean cutting a hole. Now I've worked out, here's my centre line here at 1765 from each side. I have a 30mm foam here, so basically the floor is 30mm foam, and what I intend to do is make a foam box that goes into the bulkhead. It's only going to be two sides and a top, so it's not going to be that difficult to fabricate, but that'll be a big hole in the boat, and it has to be done. It really does have to be done. So I'm going to basically get in and expand it out. It's got to be at least 80 centimetres wide and 40 centimetres high, because most of them seem to be around 750 by 380. So I've got to aim for that height, at least 40 centimetres in height of the internal space, and it'll also give me the opportunity to finish the tabbing up underneath. It's been a big decision, but continue with the davits and this here, I should be able to get this done pretty quickly. I've deliberated for way too long, and I'm just going to cut it. There's no one around. I'm going to cut this bloody life raft hole out. It is 30mm of foam, so I'd imagine it's going to be around about 40mm of glass and foam. So I'm going to have to get my big grinder. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use my small 125mm one to cut the original holes, and that'll give me a guide for that big one, because that big grinder, once I get that into there, it's going to be out of control. But essentially I have to cut it straight, but I don't want to be cutting it in because I intend to put the box inside there. This is the size of the opening, and I'm going to utilise, I'm going to use, someone said they hate utilise, I'm going to use this wall here with which to form a box for the life raft. And a lot of other boats that have an insert that they've got made up to put in, I'd rather build it in rather than just put in a slot in box. I'd rather physically tab and glass the thing in and make sure that's as solid as a rock for the stern of the boat. Now there is a bulkhead right here, as you know, which basically going to give me a friggin' solid wall with which to laminate this box into. So going to get cutting. Let's get into it. That's the biggest hole, and yeah, that was pretty freaky, but all essential, but yeah, not nice to have to cut a big hole like this, but it'll be rectified pretty quickly. Hopefully this is about it. So for about 2 weeks I've been trying to laminate the seam behind this lounge and get it all finished, and now I'm going to be able to do the whole thing because I can reach it all because I've cut a monster hole. Well, last night was a brutal cut, and I've just come in this morning and I've been able to access up underneath this bulkhead, which was always a concern of mine, not actually tabbing this in, but now that's actually fully tabbed in, so that would be about 8 layers of glass holding that together there. The other thing I've been able to do was, because this was 30mm foam, I've been able to core it and fill it with vinyl ester and Cavasol filler just to make sure that it is waterproof and sealed. I can sort of forget about this area for a while now, because I really need to concentrate on the compartment on the other side in through this hatchy wiring and hydraulics through. But you know, looking up in there, pretty much that's as solid as it can be, and what I'll be doing is building a internal box that actually fits in here and will interlock into this whole thing to act as the life raft compartment. And obviously there's a lot of discussion about life rafts at the moment, and a lot of it bears around with the positioning of it. Obviously if a boat were to capsize, you want to have it on the hull, not on the deck, because if it capsizes you're not going to be able to get to it. Secondly, if there's a fire, you just need to be able to pull a strap and go. So I've got to design some way of making sure that life raft just pops out of that cavity. Obviously here it's going to be below our tender, so which is really good. But yeah, that's looking pretty thick, and that's a pretty square cut, and now filling it in will be another job. Okay, yesterday I laid up a flat sheet. I only put one layer of 400 double bias on each side of this piece of foam because it's not really a structural member of the boat, but it is a structural member of the dinette module, and I figure that, you know, one layer on each side is more than enough. Most boats are only one layer of 400 double bias on each side. But so this foam bulkhead is going to go in under the dinette module and start to form the compartments for the electrical section, for the battery compartment and the air conditioning unit. So I'll get it in here, and I'm going to try to get them in today. Alright, so I'll put the bulkhead in first. I've got a couple of cleats in here to position it exactly where I need it. Now what I'll do is I'll get a wedge and I'll just lift it slightly and put my fillet in underneath and then let it embed down in it. And you know, you can see here that this is going to be a sealed bulkhead all the way around, but I'm leaving that top section there open. I'm going to run a conduit through there with which to pass our air conditioning and our power. So, it's a bit of a tight fit. Things are enclosing very fast, and once they enclose, you haven't got a lot of access. I'm going to seal it to the floor and to the back bulkhead or the centre bulkhead, and that will actually reinforce it and make sure that it doesn't move. I'll put this one in. Okay, so I can get my wedge in underneath here now because it's in place. Just lift it ever so slowly. You don't need a lot to give you the clearance with which to feed your fillet under. Righto, next cab off the rank this morning is another very difficult area to consolidate, and that's up in here. And this bulkhead here, I actually put the starboard side bulkhead in to form the air conditioning compartment in there. That area there is going to be pretty much devoted under there to the air conditioning and heating system, a reverse cycle Webusto. And then this area here will be storage. I'll possibly just put a temporary thing there, maybe a net or something to stop any storage items from falling in there. Something I can lift out and still get access to the aircon. That bulkhead's now tabbed in, and as is this, but this side isn't. So I've still got to complete the tabbing on this side here. The other side's done. I did it last night. I'm just going to remove this cleat here and basically get in and tab it in, and then I can sand it out and flow coat it. I'll probably leave a couple of areas void of flow coat so that I can glue down some mounts, and they'll possibly be screwed to the bulkhead as well. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that, but for now I'm just going to flow coat the whole thing out, get it all nice and clean and dust free so that Zach and I can get in and access this area, which is now all bulkheaded in. This is the electrical compartment. Everything is going to be housed in here, AC, DC, and all my inverters and everything on the wall there. So yeah, pretty exciting to get to this stage. This module is now completely glassed in, with the exception of areas down here and here. I've still got to do some subsequent tabbing here, but you know, that's just nothing. It's 10 minutes work to get that done, and then the whole thing can start to be integrated back into the lower module, which is actually the dual companionway module there. I've got to tie this to this and this to this. Yes, there's been some pretty major work going on over the last couple of weeks in preparation for our electrical system, and every now and then I catch myself standing here wondering how in God's name we're going to do that. I had to do a bit of gap filling yesterday. There was a bit of a discrepancy in this module and this bulkhead, and I actually think there always was. And I'm looking at the production photos, as you can see here, there's wood paneling and some nice decorative trim here covering up this bit of a discrepancy here. So what I've done yesterday is I came in and I've actually block filled it with foam in all the gaps, and I've glued it in place with these little tabs, these small composite angle tabs that have actually been glued in place has now allowed me to fill that in. So that's now completely solid. What that's going to enable me to do is to glass it from here to here on the module and make sure that this module's integrated on the face. Now, I don't think any module could be more secure and less chance of squeaking than this guy here. I've got it tabbed and glassed all the way along the base. I've got it glassed and glued and tabbed to the deck on the top there. It's actually integrated in with three main bulkheads underneath, separating the compartments within it for my electrical compartment, my heating and air conditioning, and my battery compartment are now three separate units, and that all ties that module in, further reinforcing the structure of the boat. So there's plenty of structure in the boat here. So I'm going to just remove these now, and then I can start to sand the margins of the module here so that I can get that tabbed back, and then ultimately the end goal is to spray that with white gel coat and then bring it back to a finish that's going to look like it was all integrated with the bulkhead in there. There will be some sort of a veneer on this bulkhead, although it is plywood, it is scarfed, and obviously we've got differences of material here. I want something nice. It's going to be a face feature of the companionway here, so very important to think long term when you're doing a job like this, and filling like this allows you simply to get straight on with the job. 3 p.m. What's this all about? The Apprentice has finally shown up at 3 p.m. What have you been doing?
Your job.
Been chasing down my jobs, haven't he?
Yeah.
We had a house insurance increase of 50% for no reason, so Janet got on the phone and got nasty, and
I didn't get nasty, it was nice.
you should have got nasty.
Didn't need to.
What a disgrace, eh? So ended up saving money. I had to ring up and ask for a discount, so we ended up getting a better price anyway. So unbelievable how rude they are. Anyway, Janet's decanting epoxy here. We buy 20 kilo batches of this stuff, or 30 kilos including the catalyst, then we decant it into a smaller tin to avoid the air getting to it for too long, and it's basically a pretty essential job. You don't want 20 kilos of this stuff sitting in the air going off while you're working with it, so we always decant it. And she's going to glue all the foam remnants, and used up just about every piece of our scrap, haven't you? To our foam core hatches. Now these are our forward hatches. These are going to have foam, and then we'll fill here and we'll make these solid glass around the edges. Obviously we want to core the edges to make sure they're going to handle the abuse, but the foam's certainly necessary to make them nice and rigid without adding too much weight.
So I spent a few days, I actually really enjoyed it. It was like doing play school or something. Spending a few days cutting up all this foam. That foam fits this block. And you can see one over there, and there's a few over there as well. And once I've cut out foam using all the leftover bits from Rossi's big pieces that had that was the fun bit, actually, trying to get things to fit. Weirdly as it might sound. Anyway, now what we're going to do is this glue goes down on the bottom, and then we're going to stick the foam on top of the glue, put some weights on it to make it happen, and then once that's set, then we're going to do some more laminating over the top. And then there's a couple over there that are in the dark a bit. They've got some bricks on top to make it just sit down nice and flat. Yeah, and then we'll put some more lamination over the top, which the foam will keep it nice and light for the hatches.
Yeah, cool. So we're not vacuuming them, we're just putting some weight on. It's not really a big deal if it's not perfect, but certainly we do need the foam there to make it nice and rigid.
So I'm mixing glue again.
Yeah, good. We've just got 30 kilos of it, and Janet's just been decanting it, and yeah, having this stuff on hand is just fantastic, this Techni glue.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I know I'm quite used to the proportions and mixing it. I don't worry about it anymore so much. I'll probably screwed it up now I said that.
Well, good. Get into it. Oh, these are the bow hatches. Yeah, cool. So they've got multiple layers, and I did a test on one of them, and they're nice and thick around the edges, which is where it's pretty critical, but there's a 10mm foam core in them, and once these are finished, we're going to trim them, and then we'll flow coat them so that we can keep the waterproofness of them, the underside of them. But yeah, Janet's doing a great job with these. She's knocked out heaps of them. She's got another 2 here to go, and then out here we've got some more ready to go. We've got the freezer lid and another hatch here. So nice thing is that these are all cosmetically done, and we'll keep these inside so they don't get dirty. It'll just be one less thing we have to clean when we launch the boat. And then we've got all the internal hatch rims as well, all the dress rims. So yeah, you enjoying yourself up here with your vibes and your music? Cool. That's good. Doing a great job. My beautiful wife has been working diligently on our hatches for the foredeck, and it's been absolutely brilliant for me. I reckon she's put me probably 6 or 8 weeks ahead just by doing all the work she's done, polishing, making all the molds and refreshing the molds, and basically getting these hatches done. She's now at hatch number 6, I think, and this one here is the completed item. I just need to trim the edges off. You'll notice here what she's actually done in here. We've given these hatches a bit of an arbitrary laminate schedule, and what it is basically 2 layers of 300 CSM as a tie layer, and then a layer of 400 double bias. From there, once that's set, we pull it out of the mold, and then we can move on to making more, and then we'll put in a layer of 10mm H80 foam, and then another layer of 300 CSM, and then 4 layers of 400 double bias around the edge, and then another layer of 400 double bias over the whole lot with peel ply. They're not that heavy, but they're super, super rigid, and that's what I'm after, is basically rigidity, because anyone that walks on the hatch, and nothing worse than a springy hatch, and being square, they're pretty strong in their profile anyway. The issue is, though, this flange needs to be cut off on all of them to get the right thickness, and I'm hoping around about 5mm should be more than enough thickness for these hatches, and I'm going to just trim this one up, and that'll give me a guide for the other 8 that we have to make. We've got to actually, we're up to 6, we've got to make another 2 that are going to include the windlass hatch, so plenty of work to do. But if I give this one a trim now, I'll know whether we're on the money or not, and Janet can keep going. I'll just write out a schedule, and she does. It's brilliant. She's absolutely taken this on, and quite frankly, I think she's enjoying it. All right, we'll take a bit of a walk, go up on the deck. I haven't been up here for about a month because I've been too busy inside, but now that Janet's full on into these hatches, I can sort of relax a bit. All these little bits of blue tape are tiny little gel coat blemishes, and I'm going to have to repair. They're little chips, and I was watching Ruby Rose the other day, and they noticed that Mike Rees, the manager there, was saying there's always gel coat repairs to be done, and I totally concur with that. There's always gel coat repairs to be done. So this hatch here, we're going to try it in here. If it's strong enough, we're good, and then I have to make a mold here for the drain. And while we're up here, I thought I'd give you a bit of a look at the deck side, look at the helm station, and some of the work I'm doing here. I'm doing some pretty crazy stuff here, and you're probably going to go, oh shit, what's he done now? But this is the helm station here, and you can see it from above. Our large plotter just on there, the throttle's there where that white template is, and then our winch systems are down there with all of our lines running down. Now you'll notice here I've got this 40mm high foam combing whole heap of bits and pieces of laminated foam. I'm going to kerf all that and actually make that look really nice and make that into a rain gutter to make the rain fall away. Now, I actually thought about incorporating a rain gutter into this, and I haven't quite finished yet, but in this part here, I do need to stop water from going down into the cockpit. There'll be another roof up here, and essentially that'll give us shelter at the helm, but this here will stop any water from hitting the deck and going over in, provided it's you know, not absolutely torrential. And we're going to have some clears around here to give us some shelter, obviously to protect us from the weather. But yeah, that's a bit of a mess, but it's going to look pretty good pretty soon, because all I have to do is kerf that foam, and essentially it's going to be all the way around. Yeah, you're looking at that thing, what's he thinking? But the thing is, it's not that hard. You just have to prepare the surface, glue the foam down, and then start shaping.